Start with a psalm, Psalm 5, and this is from the Inclusive Bible. Answer me when I call, God of justice. Give me relief from my distress. Have mercy, hear my prayer. How long will you people dishonor me before God? How long will you love delusion and pursue lies? Know that those who love Yahweh have been set apart by divine will. Yahweh will hear me when I call. Tremble and stop your sinning. Search your heart, alone and silent in your room. Offer sacrifices of justice and put your trust in Yahweh. So many are asking, does God even exist anymore? Let the light of your face, Yahweh, shine on us. You put joy in my heart, a joy greater than being full of bread and new wine. In peace I'll lie down, in peace I will sleep, for you alone, Yahweh, keep me perfectly safe. So last week we had the videos. Juan Carlos is here today, and we're going to have a discussion. I just wanted to briefly go over some things that we had talked about. The ELCA African Descent Strategy Implementation Plan came up last week, and this was something that was started in 2005. It was approved by a church-wide assembly, and it's just a plan for making sure that there's equality in the ELCA concerning African American people. And then in 2015, there was an African Descent Strategy team started, and they're really working on equality in the ELCA. And there's a lot of information online. I put some websites on the sheets if you want more information. And in 2019, I found an apologies that was issued by the ELCA also for the sin of racism in the church. So, especially when it comes to African American people. So, and so we have Juan Carlos here today, and he's going to have a discussion with us. And I will run around. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I will hand the microphone to you.
Okay. Good morning. I'm very happy. Thank you for your beautiful voice. Yes. Like very inspiring to see everyone here today in the morning, and I'm glad that you have this space. I came like, I'm looking forward to have a conversation, but then India said, it's just 15 minutes. So let's try the best. My name is Juan Carlos Lapuente. I Bishop's Laurie Associate, and since she started in 2019. So yeah, that's my role in the synod. When India told me, I thought immediately about focusing on racism, this conversation focusing in racism, and what are the lenses, theological lenses or lenses, approaches that we are discussing at the bishop's office. So that might be, I guess, a contribution. Is that okay? Okay, so I do that? Okay. Well, first, Bishop Laurie has been saying to everyone that what means synod, the word synod, and it's walking together, in the journey together. So there's a pathway. There's a lot of psalms in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible, PhD here, in the Hebrew Bible about show us your pathways, and there are not just one, many. So the synod is we are walking together in a pathway. And so that pathway is about moving from fear to courageous love. So that will be like the big picture. We are trying to walk everyone from fear to courageous love. The good thing about focusing in the word synod helps us to say, who are the people we walk with? So instead of having a center in which people come to a center, when we talk about we are a synod, we are in a journey, we are moving from fear to courageous love, we are walking together, that helps us. It's more dynamic. It's more like a pilgrimage lens, and said, okay, so with whom we are walking, what binds us, what are the stepping stones. So that's kind of the language that we are using. So that's how we understand in the Oregon Synod is a group, many people walking together from fears to courageous love, moved by the Spirit that Jesus promises. So, oh yes, okay, let's go with this. When thinking about moving forward, sometimes we think that the future is kind of like a blank page that we need to write. And sometimes we are very anxious because if it's a blank page, our future, I have all responsibility about the future. So about this blank page. We have heard today in the worship at the end, Christ is risen and Christ is coming. So one important lens that we are using is the future is the past coming to us. And this is not something irrational, and also very theological about Christ is Alpha and Omega. So past and future are together, linked. So the past is coming from ahead. Our future is not an empty page, it's people coming. We are going to be encountering with people, and those people, they are a living memory. They live a memory. They are going to be encountering with us. That's very important. So our future is an ongoing encounter with people in Oregon who are bringing and speaking up about their past. We follow this? So people of faith can be anxious about it, or people of faith can be happy about it. Who are the people in Oregon who speak up about the hidden memories of their stories in Oregon? Because the way they speak up about those memories will also shed light upon the memories that we keep hidden in ourselves. So we are talking about a healing encounter among people in Oregon. So we are walking from fear of hiding our memories, difficult memories, hidden memories, to courageous love, to heal together and walk together with people. So that's kind of like what means synod. Moved by the Spirit of Jesus that Jesus promises, we are in a pathway of healing. In other words, salvation, that means healing, salutis. Salvation from Latin means healing. We are in a journey of healing in Oregon, and our future is encountering people who speak up about their stories that society have been buried. So that's kind of the first important approach I want to bring. I can stop there. That's a conversation for this part.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I would like hear back somebody or maybe talk about it. Oh yeah, Lori.
Well, thinking about the stories of the past, I'm just aware, I live in Northeast Portland, and the area where Emmanuel Hospital is, that land was empty for so long, taken from the people who lived there. It feels like for many years, it's taken a while for people to actually hear the stories. And a positive thing about church is, as you say, we have the choice to hear these stories without anxiety, but with hope that there will be healing in this. It's hard though, just because it's sometimes in church it's very difficult to talk about difficult things. So that's our job.
And
I worked at Emmanuel Hospital for 33 years. And actually, in the atrium at Emmanuel is a beautiful kind of story about that. So there is reckoning. I mean, there is that. But sometimes it's really hard to hear this without feeling blame. Yeah.
anyone else?
Somebody else? Yeah, thank you, Tim.
So this morning I was reading an article in the Washington Post about the undamming of the Klamath River, which I had really not been following at all. And part of what it talked about was the impact that the dams had when they were first created on the people who lived in the land and subsisted primarily off of the salmon that were, survived and thrived in the rivers, and how when we dammed up the rivers, now we've impacted the salmon in such a way that the water becomes less clean over time, the salmon population decreases over time, and then there's less and less food for the people who have lived on the land historically. And so as we're going about this process of removing some of the dams, there's been a lot of controversy about the people who then purchased homes that were lakefront homes, and now we're going to sell the home, and we're going to lose our lakefront property, and it's not right for the government to kind of step in this way. And as I kept on thinking about that, it's hard not to, A, sympathize to a degree with these people who bought into a situation which is now changing, but B, it's really hard to hear that message about the government as kind of stepping into a scenario and changing things when that's exactly what happened to create the scenario that, that so many people understood to be the status quo. And it just got me thinking more about the fact that you can be on one side or another of an issue and not be entirely wrong, but maybe not be entirely right. And you need to be kind of open to a solution where not everybody's going to be perfectly happy, but we try to together be happier and be more satisfied. And it feels like some of that attitude on the part of the homeowners of, well, this is how it is, so of course it's right. It does feel like that is part of, I think, this conversation, which is why I kind of make the connection there that even if we're doing things that seem right to us, there could be an aspect of it that we haven't really considered, and there could be history that we haven't considered, and there should be broader considerations that, while they're new and maybe uncomfortable, are also very valuable.
As you were speaking, the word reparation came to my mind. And I think the government should pay the homeowners for their property so that if it's going to be underwater, the restitution has been made. And I know that reparation is kind of a big word in society today. Like, how am I going to provide reparation for something that happened 200 years ago? I wasn't involved, blah, blah, blah. So that's just something that we need to talk about too.
Although this was 50 years ago, so it wasn't actually that long ago at Emmanuel.
She was talking about slavery. Anyway, the Silets tribe of, I believe they're around here, but mostly in Washington, and the tribe, the Grand Ronde, the Confederation. There is a bill right now in the Senate, and I was going to write to our senators because that's what I do, but I think they're going to vote for it anyway. And it's to give the Silence tribe and the tribes of the Grand Ronde, I'm going to cry. Why do I do this? It's the ability to subsistence fish again and to subsistence hunt again. And they're the only two tribes in the United States that are not allowed to do that on their own land. Odd. And they're in Oregon. What up with that? So shame on all of us for that, but it's coming to the Senate, and I know our guys are going to vote for it, and then of course Biden will sign it, but it's way past time, and I couldn't believe that the only two tribal groups that aren't allowed to do that are right here in our backyard. So there's some good reparation coming there.
Anybody? So what is the Oregon Synod stance on Emmanuel and reparations? I know there's a lawsuit
Yeah,
right now.
there are many initiatives now, right now related to this kind of approach. But just I want to add a little piece, and I will come to the initiatives. So we understand racism as erasing others' memories. It's not about just my skin color, no, or our skin color. It's about burying, annihilating, erasing others' memories, others' stories, others' dreams. Let's say, like, how many languages in Oregon have been existing in the last 200 years, and then how in a short period of time were exterminated, erased. And we know that we share through our language how we understand the world, the divinity, all of that. So if there will be 200 languages in Oregon and then they were erased, I don't know exactly the number, but there were many. So how many worlds were erased? Dreams, imagination. So racism, we understand racism erasing others' dreams, others' types of possibility to coexist together as humans with nature and all of that. So it's very important to work with anti-racism, so we bring back the diversity of dreams in Oregon from those who are speaking up about their stories. Not everybody's doing that because many people are afraid, and we try to be assimilated in just one type of world that the hegemonic culture is promoting. So being anti-racist is also protecting the diversity of other types of way to coexist together. And I think that's more attuned to the spirit of the Pentecost, right? The diversity of life. Okay, yes.
In recent days, and I shall not name any names, but we have had interjected into our national conversation and consciousness a language that was fairly common in the early part of the 20th century and before, and about polluting the bloodstream. And those of us who know just a modicum of history know the insidious consequences of that. So there is a kind of suppression, repression, loss of memory that functions on many different levels here, but this idea that somehow we have a particular bloodstream that separates us from everybody else is devastating, insidious, and I think our sense of recollection and memory has to confront and challenge that inside the church and outside the church.
That's beautiful, well said. I really, that's great to hear.
It reminds me, yeah, I'll say it was Donald Trump that was saying that, so I'll say his name. He should not be named. It reminds me of several years ago, this was probably 6 or 7 years ago, I was substituting teaching in a classroom at Valley Catholic for the social studies teacher, and she said something that forever changed my worldview. I was raised with the notion that the United States is a melting pot. That's what my folks told me, and I'm 100% Norwegian by ethnicity. DNA tested and all that, so I'm 100% Norwegian. But I was always told that when we all come together, then we give up our past, except for the cooking, but we give up our language, we give up our dress, we give up all of those things, and we become this melted conglomeration like a, what do you call it? What's when you put two elements together and it's stronger? Not an element, but an alloy. Thank you, an alloy. Yeah, so we become an alloy, and by that we become more stronger. Well, this social studies teacher said, don't think of it like that. Instead of thinking of a melting pot, think about a mixed salad. And all of the elements, a tossed salad, and you got a little nut, you got a few nuts in there. In a really good salad, you got some nuts. But each element on its own is wonderful and important. But together, oh my gosh, they're amazing. That has changed my worldview in so many ways. I wish we could teach more of that.
One more there. That's great. I'm talking. That's great.
And I think one of the things we need to admit to ourselves is that we're afraid. We're afraid of offending somebody. We're afraid of what will happen if we stand up for somebody. We're afraid that we won't fit in. We are afraid that we haven't got the right version of whatever truth is. And that's another piece of it. I mean, there's lots of pieces, but I think fear is one of them.
Yeah, so when we talk about fear, also it's about like there's a threat in our mind. So we need to clarify what is the threat. Like maybe the threat is the past. Maybe. I don't know, but the what is the threat? And then how we get stronger to face that threat. Because fear is a valid emotion that helps us to discern that we need to get strength to face the threat. So we're going to step back, get stronger, and face the threat. But the threat, what is it? Because fear is separating us, polarizing us. We are hiding our truth. We don't know what is truthful, how to become truthful one another. So where is the spirit of resurrection that we carry, that we experience? So we need to engage in this healing journey as a synod, and that's the good news, right? We can do that. Yes.
And we have to see, why are we wanting to deal with this? If we're very comfortable as we are with our stories, and yeah, we can maybe find some things that, oh, you come from the Midwest, oh, you've eaten this before, you've done this thing. Beyond that, I worked for many years as a social worker, and I did lots of work with families who wanted to adopt a child from another part of the world. Now that sounds really a wonderful thing to try to do, but preparing people for what that really means. So, okay, now I have a child from China, but what does that mean? You have a child from Guatemala, what does that mean? And many of the people we tried to work with really were not ready for that. They wanted their child, but then they were going to do things their own way. And we could only have so much, I mean, if it was really blatant, we'd just turn them down. But you can't say no to everybody because children need homes and people can grow and can make a bigger world. But it's a huge, and I was never feeling quite good enough getting it the way it needs to be. And I had a hope that people will grow and that they will meet other people and that they will deal with the difficult things just in their own homes. Now, when we go into churches, that's beyond, and the other groups we're in. But I think we all have our personal stories as well. And probably everyone around here, I know I met Lori, and she lives next door to one of the families I worked with. So, I mean, we have people all over that are living with trying to see how to enjoy and embrace what we have to offer and take a chance to change yourself and maybe be uncomfortable. Because how else can we do that? But it's really interesting, and you'd think that people who wanted to adopt a child from another place just love all this, but they don't. And you've probably already met those people. So that's all I have to say, but I think in our lives, in our careers, in our neighbors, and people we've met, we're all in this mixed salad.
Yeah. Thank you. This conversation is very important because the question always is like, why we dig into the past? So why we need to work with racism? So that it sounds like, oh, this is a pessimistic, this is painful, this is, what is the good news about it? But there's good news because not only because of the healing, but also we are afraid of the painful memories sometimes, or the predominant approach is like everything in the past is traumatic. But Jesus always evoked stories from the past constantly to shed light upon situations with positive views. So theology is bringing positive memories from the past. It's not just traumatic experiences. So this conversation is very, very important. Also, we need to be aware of underneath the pain, there's tremendous love. So if something happened to my daughter and it's painful for her, I will be in pain. But because I love her, right? So always underneath the pain, you can find the divine love. So when we said we're going to embrace the past, it's not because we're just going to be finding our own pain or our hidden memories or pending healing processes. Because we're people of faith, we know that underneath the pain, even though our mistakes, even though our missing actions, underneath all of that, there's tremendous love in our ancestors, in us, and whatever happened in the past that was brokenhearted, underneath that there's tremendous love. People were trying to protect their life, people were, all of that limitations. But we know that we can, in a deeper encounter here in Oregon, among diverse ethnicities, we can bring back healing, and also like a volcano, the magma that is there, the underneath love can help us to coexist differently. And that's the good news. We have that vision. We have that promise. And that's what is important to deconstruct the patterns that keep being racist, erasing memories of others constantly. Okay, having said that, the key lenses that we are using is, let's do the land genealogy of your place. When we start with this, people say, why the land? This is about racism. Train us in how to manage diversity, cultural diversity. Let's start speaking all of us Spanish and all. No, why you do land genealogy? There's a lot of painful memories there. No, we need to do it. Because once we start digging into who owns the land, what happened, all of that, we start discovering just part of our memories. Some of them are painful, but as I said, there's underneath love. People were trying to survive, people were trying to work, people were trying to cultivate, but there was a genocide, there was an extermination of others, yes. And also how we start engaging with others in our community with a more vulnerable position, instead of like we are the superior Christians with the best story ever, and we are going to help everybody. Like, how do you say this? Like spreading our solutions to everybody. That's kind of like a supremacy understanding of us. But when we dig into the memory, then suddenly we start becoming more like more vulnerable, more humble, and say, yeah, I'm part of stories that are brokenhearted and also stories of love. I have both. And with that in mind, I can engage with others in the community. And so we started with that. So reckoning with racism in Oregon right now, from the efforts connected from the bishop's office and congregations. I said bishop's office because that's my place that I'm working, but everybody's on this, and the assembly, you were there, we vote, everybody vote for moving congregational network, racism, all of that, anti-racism. So we are asking congregations to do their land genealogy, then weave a collective sacred land story that can help them to share that part of the story when they engage with others in the community. We're still working on that, but we are partnering with other organizations because they say, are you doing that? People are willing to do that? Yes, people are doing it. People are doing it. And then we start working for that. In that effort, we discovered what happened, because Bishop Laurie said, well, let's do it from the bishop's office land story. Right? That's how it started. And then when we start doing it, we discovered that Emmanuel Hospital were involved in an initiative that was expanding the hospital, and in partnership with the city and other entities, people were displaced. Specifically, African American people were displaced from that neighborhood because they were justifying about this gonna be helping all the community. But we discovered that part of the land that were supposed to be built and infrastructure still there without any building. So there's a lot of profit from just like equity, how do you call it? The investments. So we said, wow, well, poor families, what will happen to families? But as I said, our future is encountering those who speak up about these hidden memories. We found there was an organization that was Emmanuel Displaced Families. By the Emmanuel Displaced Families, EADP2, something like that. And so Bishop Laurie met with them, a team met with them, and they were surprised that the Lutherans were there. Also, Bishop Laurie have a seat in the board of Emmanuel Hospital. So it's not easy, right? Emmanuel Hospital give us the rent of a low price for renting the bishop's office for many years. So that's kind of what we have been discovering just through this process. Other congregations have been discovering other things. Like, for example, something that comes to my mind right now, a congregation discovered when Japanese were in concentration camps here in the States during the war. Many people were get caught and transferred, all of that, and they were reviewing the minutes of the board in their congregation during those years. There's no word about it. So even in the preaching or in the life of the congregation, they were totally disconnected of what was happening in their area about how many people were caught. I'm talking about Hood River. Okay? And then when they discovered in that, they say, well, we need to find some people that are descendants from those people. And they did an event in Hood River. This congregation organized an event in Hood River, inviting descendants and asking forgiveness and healing that they were. So something is happening about just exploring our stories. So that's one initiative, and we are popping up. Then we have the road trip, right? Have you heard about the road trip, this anti-racism road trip? Yeah. There's a team also built from people from different congregations, and we are visiting congregations to just bring back hidden memories of their place. So many congregations right now are saying, come, and then the road trip come. So people from other congregations come, and we have a big gathering, and we start talking about memories that we have of our place that are challenging, but we support each other on just speaking up about it and pray together, just to start speaking up as a healing process for all of us. That's another initiative. So we have the cohorts, the reckoning with racism cohort, the road trips. We want to build this congregational network also through the road trips. We have the reparation teams. There's how do you call it? This reparations advisory team that meets monthly. The reparations team, so we are establishing a fund for reparations, and people said this question about how are we going to repair if this so time ago, right? One congregation was engaged with a coalition of Native Americans organizations, and $5 million of a land in Laurelhurst in Portland were given back to Native America for this coalition. This was a month ago. The Barber's Village. Have you heard about that?
It's Pastor Lori's former parish.
Oh, yes, you were working with it. Yeah, sorry, yeah. Yes. Also, you were in the reckoning with racism. Yeah, sorry about that, yes. Ah, Lord, yeah. With Chris de la Cruz. It's good, very beautiful news, right? And people were saying, but what is this? Well, this is glimpses of the seed of the mustard that Jesus was talking about. And I was hearing from a friend, what are they going to do in the land? They are having childcare and preschool with Native American lenses, stories, teachers, so to provide, to foster Native American stories and wisdom and memories in their own place, you see? So that's beautiful also. Sometimes we understand anti-racism as providing solution, like giving money or this or that. We need to think about how we protect others' memories. So we enter now in the intercultural arena, interreligious arena, because how we understand the good news of the gospel when we need to protect other memories and the way how they understand divinity. So that's challenging us. What means sharing the gospel? It's just a content? What is that? So we were also exploring that the good news of the gospel is like what Jesus said about, you are the light. And I talked about this a time ago when I came preaching here. So the gospel as a light that shed light upon the beauty of others' memories, other stories. I think that what Jesus was doing that all his life. Don't you see that widow? Don't you see? Don't you see? So I think we need to, it's not about proselytism, it's about like shedding light upon the dignity of others, or acknowledging the basic teaching from Hebrew Bible that we are image of creators, image of the creator, no? Creator. Image. So we are creators. Every person. Every person, no? Every person is a creator. Yes.
And also that when we think of the church as the space where we come to worship, the space where we proclaim the good news, that it really is about turning that church upside down and understanding that we are about resurrection, and resurrection is out there and inside, but there aren't any walls. And when you say synod as the road we walk together, that is a resurrection road, and we don't have it all figured out, and there's not a road map, but the fact that we are always talking and trying to act to be people, resurrection people, meaning all peoples. And the other thing that I think so often about is that I, as a white person, American, have so much to learn from the native people whose land I grew up on, and from so many other cultures as well, and not to feel like we are the mouthpiece of information or the mouthpiece of how it is, but to be genuinely interested and wanting to learn from other peoples.
Yes, yes. It's so beautiful. Yes.
As a retired therapist, I can't not bring up the word denial. And denial is a defense mechanism that protects us in some fashion. And I wonder if you could speak to that topic of collective denial. When I was in high school, I wrote a book report that was about someone who had been in a concentration camp. And the teacher wrote on my paper, "Just because it's in a book, don't believe it," which I thought was the epitome of denial. Anyway.
I'll let you speak about that because I had something else to say, but you can address her question.
Yeah. So the question, my understanding of the question is if you can speak more about collective denial. Well, I feel inspired by you about talking the resurrection. I think Christianity has a very beautiful intuition that is there's no salvation without the body. Resurrection is there's no salvation without our body. So the denial is about we don't embrace our body. Our body means if you can see my body, you can see my grandpa, my grandma, my great-great, like the eyes, my hands, my color. But this is the exterior, but internally I have memories. My brain has been learning for thousands of years, right? There's no salvation with all of that. The dust of stars, all of that that is my body. The whole universe is in my body. And the beautiful intuition of Christianity is that there's no salvation without the whole body. So our resurrection is the resurrection of the whole creation simultaneously. So I was saying collective denying is that I think is about I'm going to be better than my ancestors. Not going to be better, but I am better than my ancestors. Then I am better than others. This ego-driven pattern in the brain to protect some surviving mode in this organism. But spirituality break that, right? And then we start experiencing this collective energy, life that Jesus was talking about constantly. And I think the denial is blocking all that energy. And I said that underneath the pain, there's love. There's tremendous love. The society is saying, if you feel sad, why you feel sad? You should be happy, you have your grandchildren. If you feel happy, say, why you feel happy? Don't you see the children dying in Palestine? If you see, I'm not saying that there's problems, yes, but always we are in conflict with our body. And then conflict to each other, and then conflict with nature, because we see nature as threatening us. And so we are like a broken piece of that orphanhood, sense of orphanhood, in conflict with everything. And resurrection is about like harmony from all of that, and experiencing that collective communion, love, the divine within us. You were saying something.
So you brought up different topic, kind of talked about how do we share the gospel. You said that, and the evangelical church that we all know to be the evangelical church, although that's a misuse of the term of what they do, has a bad rap, really, and they go out there and they preach the gospel, right? And you have to hear what they have to say, and they're right, and I have opinions about that, obviously. But I've come to know that that's not the true meaning of evangelicalism. And the Great Commission to spread the word, to baptize, to get disciples, all of that, we're told to do that in the Bible, right? But is that the right method, or the way you just spoke of spreading the gospel, personally, through memories, through a quieter, more gentle means, just made me think that yeah, that must be what's really meant.
Let's remember when Jesus was saying, don't you see the birds? Don't you see the flowers? Right? He's shedding upon light to things that we don't see. I think the gospel is over there. It's not that we have it, possess it. I think but our work is like, don't you see it? In your story with your grandma, don't you see that your mom make room in their own body to you live? That's not good news. So don't you see? So it's kind of like, it's like how we become light. Jesus told us, you are the light. Also, how we become the salt. The salt is not the banquet. We know that. The gospel is not us. The gospel is something bigger than us, but we are part of it. And I think if we acknowledge that we can become light, we can become salt, and we are not the important thing in the center, in the middle, in the narcissistic ego group approach, then we'll be free to love. And I think that's what Jesus was telling us. I think there's good news everywhere. We need to shed light upon it.
Those of us around the table have said before and say again, we're broken. And if we weren't broken, we couldn't bend and mend together and learn and become stronger. I mean, it has to be. And if we try to be so strong that nothing will get to us, we can't be different. We can't be made what we need to be. And I mean, it's just so simple, and yet we tend to deny it sometimes. And then we have to remind, who are we anyhow? We're kind of broken. And And we need to confess, and we need to give people some space to be who they are, and let them help us, and we can help them. And that's what we're here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And we are in time of nativity, so being born again in Christmas. So we're going to be celebrating the divine, saying, hey, the vulnerability is the pathway, right? A child. This is a beautiful story. And so the pathway, how we are open up our hearts on all of that. Be brave to do that. And the other thing is Jesus always criticized very hard about the hardness of the heart, and I talk about this in the bishop's convocation. So the hardness of the heart. So sadness is not the opposite of joy in Christianity. So sadness is also it's just an emotion, right? It's a pain about something that you lost and you need to recreate it or something. That's okay. The opposite of Christian joy is the hardness of the heart, the inability, the lack of capacity to feel. That's why there's a lot of images in the Bible about leprosy. Because leprosy once started, affects the nerve system. So the person of the leper cannot feel. So cannot feel means that also cause damage to themselves because they hit, they cut, and it's very contagious. And many images in the Bible is Jesus healing the lepers and also criticizing the hardness of the heart. So we need to understand that Christianity is not about denying pain. It's about allowing to resurrect with all of that, because we know that underneath the pain there's love. So I think it's a pathway of how we deal with pain. I think Christianity could be also like that kind of journey about we are people who deal with the pain in a particular way, with hope, with faith, with collectively, in communion with our ancestors, our past, seeing the future as an ongoing encounter, rituals to hold us, keeping that. There's a lot of beauty in the practices that we have. So we need to keep living those and sharing those.
So we have, it's 52 after. Can we take another 8 minutes? And, okay.
I know when I say short, you don't believe me, but it is. Many of us have read the series of books by Louise Penny. And one of the quotes that she often goes back to is from Leonard Cohen, who says, don't be afraid of the cracks, because that's how the light gets in. And so as you're talking about people of Jesus being the light, we get in through those cracks. And when someone's heart is hardened, all the cracks are sealed off, I think.
And Pat and Jan were both on the Reconciling and Racism team, and they did learn some things about the land, so you can always talk to them about that. Yeah.
And so was Mary.
Mary, yes, Mary.
And so was Liz, yeah. And Liz, yeah.
The first cohort.
I think Sharon was
Every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Twice a month.
Every Tuesday.
And we did a class.
We did.
We brought it to everybody else.
Yeah.
So we did like 5 or 6 Sundays.
Yeah.
It's all recorded.
Lots of PowerPoints.
That was good.
I sometimes think that in our modern context, we confuse the words curing and healing. And when we talk about healing, we may go to a manual hospital, any clinical setting, and we want to get cured. We know that that doesn't always happen, can't be. Healing, I think, has a different connotation, and I think it emerges in the biblical stories of healing as well. I'm not so sure Jesus cured leprosy. I think you see healing going on, which has to do with more than skin. It has to do with a social context where perhaps the leper is healed in this social context as a matter of acceptance. And I think it links up too with this idea that we're all broken in real ways, but the message and the activity of healing is in that ancient context, but it's also in our modern context and in the life of the church as well, hopefully.
So, any last words to say, Juan Carlos?
No, I'm very passionate about how we share the good news, of course, of freedom, carrying resistance, all of that, like how we keep Jesus' teachings. But definitely, I feel more attuned with the notion of becoming light, being possessed by light, becoming salt. So I think this is old school, like seen through the humbleness, through humility. We will experience that transformation, and it's not an individual. I cannot do it alone. So it's beautiful that we are like many congregations, other projects, initiatives in the Oregon Synod, and not only Lutherans, also ecumenically. So let's keep doing it. Let's keep doing it collectively. We can heal each other, and we can become light. Again, not to say we are the light. That doesn't mean any sense, because nobody can see the light. But people can see themselves through our love, and also we can see ourselves through the love of others, as you said. So the brokenness and the light coming through. Who said it? You said it, Pat. So I'm very happy to be with you, and includes us in the worship when you pray for the bishop's office, for Bishop Lori, for everybody, because it's a lot of work. And all, yeah, but we are in communion. We are not congregations as islands. We are in a journey together, a community of communities. That's the beauty. Walking. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Yay. So next week, of course, is Christmas Eve, so there is no adult ed, and children's Christmas Eve, which is going to be fantastic, and cookie decorating after church. So thank you so much for coming to this, you guys.